Today we're going to talk about Ford Motors supply chain management system. I'm Xue. The establishment of Ford. In 1903, Henry Ford and 11 associate investors founded the Ford Motor Company, which would go on to become one of the world's largest and most profitable companies. During the start of the company, small groups of workers assembled cars by hand. However, since the demand for the Model T cars ascended rapidly, Ford began to introduce new mass production methods in order to increase the production. In 1911, he installed the first branch assembly plant in Kansas City, and in 1913, he also established the world's first moving assembly line. This was a great contribution to manufacturing. The products of Ford. As a multinational automaker, Ford owns famous vehicle brands, including Ford and Lincoln. Also, it offers a wide variety of products, including automobiles, trucks, buses, and trackers. Since the establishment of the company, Ford has launched many successful vehicles. Not only does Ford has a prominent position in the manufacturing industry, but it also owns Ford Financial, the world's largest credit company, Hertz, the world's largest car rental company, and Quality Care, a customer service brand. The competitors of Ford. Currently, Ford's main competitors are General Motors, Chrysler, as well as many Japanese companies, including Toyota, Honda, and Nissan. These companies from Japan have attracted many American customers with more high quality and low cost products. They have also implemented many advanced technology to control costs. The organization culture of Ford. Ford's organizational culture facilitates its drive towards higher performance to fulfill the vision of industrial leadership and also help the company to maintain a high performance workforce. In 2008, Ford CEO Mulally put forward the One Ford plan, which included the company's organizational culture. According to the plan, Ford aims to unify its global organization to achieve consistency and synergy. Ford's organizational culture supports unity through teamwork. Before introducing the One Ford plan, Ford had different cultures and product lines in different regions. Today, the company's organizational culture brings improved business capability based on synergy through unity.
Hello, my name is Yulia Levchuk, and I would like to talk about the problems with the existing supply chain management process. Ford Motors has historically had thousands of suppliers, creating a complex business network that is diverse both geographically and product-wise, but also very expensive to manage. The lack of informational system to handle supplier network caused miscommunication and poor coordination between Ford and different suppliers, resulting in higher costs, longer production schedule, and operational problems. An effective supply chain system would allow Ford to better manage the supplier base, making them more productive, cost-efficient, and less supplier dependent. In addition, Ford has a wide chain of dealerships and could benefit both from better control solutions, supply management, and data from their customers that can be collected, analyzed, and used. Also, the existing manual shipment prioritization system had high costs and resulted in high inventory. What was missing was a monitoring and alerting system that would replace the traditional mechanism of manual shipment prioritization with an automated method of prioritization to ensure the right parts are arriving at the right time and customer demand can be met. The system would have alerting functions and notify operations and planning personnel of critical changes in demand and supply, providing operational prioritization to all the processes: ship points, transportation, receiving, loading and unloading, inbound and outbound handling of parts in the distribution centers. And the last problem was the fact that there was large volume of data that was not currently collected and used. The solution for all these issues was one central data collection and inventory monitoring system. Such system would be a single point of reference for supply chain analysts and inventory planners and would connect to the large data warehouse, could handle and analyze large volumes of data. It would also be imperative to make use of this extensive data by providing daily detailed analysis, historical information, and predictive analysis to join the lowest operational levels with the strategic goals and objective of the whole enterprise. One of the important requirements of a new system is ensuring that there is no disruption in the current operations. Ford Motors is a large organization with different operations in different countries. If implementing a new system or changing the current system creates a disruption to business, even for a short period of time, the bottlenecks and costs would be too great to recover quickly. With the proper supply chain management in place, it was estimated that Ford would be able to reduce its overall network of suppliers, identify the top-tier suppliers, and work on building deeper, more transparent long-term relationship with them, allowing the suppliers independence in managing the lower tiers. This would increase trust, improve collaboration and coordination, and decrease costs that were spent to manage this wide network of suppliers. The system would be instrumental in allowing Ford to be profitable in the highly competitive auto market. It would also help move Ford to a proactive mode of operation, with all the members of the supply chain having access to data, working as a team to satisfy customer needs while decreasing operational costs. With such system, Ford would be able to gain competitive advantage and demonstrate its technological leadership in innovation in predictive intelligence.
So I'm Tim Halley, and I'm going to be discussing the overall plan and implementation for Ford moving forward. So as we discussed before with the issues in the former slides about Ford's supply chain, they and we have decided that the best implementation would be for them to choose a supply chain information system software or an enterprise resource planning software. And the main goal of this would be to integrate operations, forecasting, and inventory under one system to make it more easily navigable and more efficient. And Ford should utilize the design system process in order to decipher the best solution. This includes planning, system analysis, design, development, implementation, testing that implementation, and then managing and changing whatever they need be. So one software that they chose to implement was the SAP software, and this company specializes in enterprise resource planning. And the overall goal of this information system would be to improve forecasting, planning, operations, and cut out unnecessary steps in operations to save on their bottom line, as well as make their supply chain more productive. Now, having such a massive supply chain, this would take over 10 years to implement some major milestone objectives that they wanted to do. They broke it up into 3 distinct phases, each taking about 3 to 4 years to implement, first beginning with service parts planning, and then followed by customer relationship management software. And then finally, they integrated their warehouse management under the SAP software. And also, again, being such a massive supply chain, this was going to cost them over hundreds of millions of dollars, no specific dollar amount mentioned. And the one major risk from this was the potential to fail and the different operational standards in the United States and Europe. And because of this, they were worried that both not be able to integrate under the same standards and that there could be some miscommunications and or productivity shortcomings. And the second software that they chose to implement was the Rapid Response software by Conexus. While there wasn't very much specific information on the costs and how long it would take, we can assume that it would be about a 5-year implementation based on other information systems. And again, having such a massive supply chain that this would cost millions of dollars to integrate. But the overall goal with this would be to predict consumer trends using past, current, and future data analysis so that they can predict inventory levels and save money on holding costs and operational costs. And also, it would be able to assess the net effects on supply chain. So, meaning if there was a weakness or a shortcoming in one link in the supply chain, this technology could pinpoint it using algorithms and data and optimization to show which inefficiencies they could cut out or where to pinpoint their efforts. And one big risk of this would be it's difficult, again, to assimilate into a massive network. So if Ford is to decide to go through with this, they need to really weigh out the benefits and costs as well as how much return they're going to get on their initial investment.
Installing new values, attitude, norms, and behavior within an organization that support new ways of doing work and overcome resistance to change. Second, cutover. It is the process of transitioning from one system to a new system. Then data center. A data center is a facility used for housing a large amount of electronic equipment, typically computers and communication equipments. And its requirements are power requirement, rack requirement, a network infrastructure requirement, or a network server. Then functional test case. It is a set of conditions or variable under which a tester will determine if certain business process will work or not. Next, operation manual. The collection of current state system documents, day-to-day and other regularly scheduled operation tasks, various installations and operation checklists, and how to process documents comes under operation manual. After that, solution track, which is a set of software or components needed to deliver a fully functional solution. Moving on to SAP implementation and training. SAP implementation work arises in three main settings. The first is installation, such as with a product like SAP HANA, new or old customer needs installation. With an existing customer, the implementation may occur because customer has an extensively customized landscape that is better in long run to build a new system from scratch. Migrations, in contrast, involve moving on SAP product between hosted environments. A migration might also mean moving SAP from one database to another. Migrations usually occur in multiple phases. They are by nature complex and require frequent testing. An SAP upgrade is implementation project that moves an SAP instance to a newer version. This could be something relatively simple like adding enhancement packs. Some upgrades are challenging, however, requiring a great deal of planning and testing to successfully implement. In discussing an SAP implementation, it's easy to get mixed up by a couple of similar sounding terms that SAP consultants use to describe the work. This includes life cycles, steps, and phases. They are related concepts, but each has a different meaning. When we talk about life cycles, we are talking about the age of an SAP product. SAP product age is not measured in years, rather, a new product is at the start of its life cycle. One thing is being retired is referred to as end of life. Even if it was only introduced a few years earlier, many SAP implementation projects arise because a project is approaching EOL and needs to be replaced. An SAP implementation has 5 basic steps: project preparation, business blueprint, realization, final preparation, and go live support.
So, Ford supply chain management has several different factors to their success, but I think David Thomas, who is the director of global capacity planning, has a really great quote that addresses some of the reasons that they are benefiting to their industry. So he finds that his role is to have the most efficient supply chain possible by having low inventory and maximizing revenue. And he found that a lot of ways to cut this expense is because along the supply chain, vehicles can be sitting in inventory or in factories at dealerships or ports, anywhere along that chain, and that's dead money to them. So how could they approach that situation to eliminate that cost and benefit Ford? So the way they ended up doing this is through a learning curve as well as a rapid response system implementation. Originally, Ford had attempted to build their own system over several years, and they found that they needed a stronger way to approach it, and this is going to be critical to their success. So how did they end up doing that? Well, they utilized SAP software and hired an external company to implement a system called Rapid Response. Rapid Response offers three main aspects that are going to be beneficial for Ford in the long run. And these main categories are going to be that there's seamless communication on all levels. As we've covered, Ford is a global company. They're operating in many different countries, and they have a lot of different suppliers. So having seamless communication on all different levels is really going to help them, as well as collecting data, as well as an application of statistics on a global level to predict market trends. We have seen the car industry and the trends within the car industry change dramatically over the course of the past several years. So being able to predict those market trends is going to help Ford, as well as being able to predict inventory based on the time and the quantity of particular models. It being a global company means that particular models that are demanded in one country isn't going to be necessarily what they need to supply in another. So for example, in the United States, we might have a much higher demand for a car that's larger, such as an SUV, where in Europe they tend to drive smaller cars. So something like a Ford Fiat is going to be needed to be supplied at a higher inventory level than it is here in the US. So how did they actually succeed? Well, part of their success is the fact that they had clearly defined goals from the very beginning, and they organized their system to accommodate those goals. We have seen throughout the semester that a lot of different companies not only struggle with management and communication, but there's a lack of differentiation between the goals of what the actual company is. So some of their goals were going to be that they wanted to monitor orders and inventory, they wanted to prevent overstocking and potential loss of profits, and really accommodate to what the customer needed eventually in the long run. And they also had an additional approach that they saw as a benefit of their supply chain management system. They had environmental improvements. So Ford is starting to sort of spearhead that environmental approach that we're seeing become really vital to a business's success. And they are part of the Carbon Disclosure Project, which means that 66% of their suppliers have emission reduction targets, as well as 41% have water reduction targets. And they also are part of their partnership for a cleaner environment, which means that 40 of their suppliers represent 1,100 manufacturing sites in 40 different countries, and all of these are going to be making environmental efforts. So how does their supply chain management system play into that? Well, their supply chain management softwares are actually prompting suppliers to input the size and their current environment and their footprint and goals so that their software can suggest potential actions and best practices to limit their environmental impact and to not only help the supplier but Ford, and it's a very holistic approach. So there are always going to be improvements and potential outlooks for the future, and their technological upkeep and advancements are going to be an area where they need to look for improvements, as well as just the longevity of the system. They're going to constantly have a need to maintain skilled professionals that are educated in the advanced system to alleviate an underservice issue that a lot of companies face. And that's just because constantly technology is updating at a very rapid pace. So making sure that the system is running at an optimal capacity is important, as well as just continuing to monitor the contract compliance of their suppliers, the quality and quantity, market forecasts, and just the accuracy of the system in general. But what has rapid response and forward supply chain management over years, what has it provided is generally a controlled inventory, as well as provided KPIs and collecting data, which cut costs and increase efficiency. And an interesting statistic that I found was that analysts have predicted that it can increase the value as much as 15%, which might seem like a small percentage to you and I, but when you're looking at Ford as a global market dominating company, 15% is a very large amount added to their bottom line for revenue. And their supply chain management also is going to add to the fact that customers are demanding a higher standard of ethical suppliers and environmental goals, and their system is helping to add to those ethical goals and those environmental standards that they have along the way. And it's going to really help Ford to become an industry leader and project that their company is going to be able to survive in the long run.